Hey there, I'm Lainey Lipsky, parenting coach and master teacher. Parenting is hard. I totally get it, and I'm here to make it easier for you. Especially if you had a tough childhood or you've got a tough child now, I've got your back. So take a deep breath, relax, and check out this clip from my coaching group this week. And remember to hit like and subscribe if you like my vibe. Let's get started. Do you have tips on how to help our children build self-confidence? Yes, I do. For example, what are some good things to say to help our kids recognize and also not forget their strengths when they start to question their abilities? More specifically, when they are working hard towards something, like in sports, but haven't seen the results they expect to see by now. Does that make sense? Totally makes sense. Okay. So, well, first of all, for starters, I didn't see that question when I was talking about planting seeds of parenting. But that is something that you can also use to talk to your kids about um, how putting in effort early on is sometimes really messy and can feel really clunky and feel really like it's not worth it because you're not seeing the big victory. My suggestion there would be to focus in on the smallest victory possible. Excuse me. And again, this applies to parenting too, so take it for what it's worth. But you're asking me about helping kids build their self-confidence rather than focusing on the long-term goal that they've set for themselves. It's really important to break down what they want to accomplish into small victories, tiny victories sometimes. So choosing different milestones along the way instead of, I want to hit a home run. It's like, well, first I want to be able to make contact with the ball with the bat. Then I want to be able to hit it, past the pitcher or to the pitcher, and then past the pitcher, then past the first, second, or third baseman, then into the outfield, right? Like there are different milestones to hit. So that could be one thing that could really help would be to set different milestones instead of just holding on to that long-term goal. And if they in sports have if they're expecting to see something, a certain outcome, the word expect for me is always like a red flag in the sense that expectations are, speaking of seeds, one of my favorite phrases about expectations is that they are the seeds of resentment and they are also the seeds of disappointment because when you're expecting something and you don't get it, it means you're so attached to that outcome that you're going to likely, especially as a kid, if you're feeling frustrated, likely give up on the thing that you're trying to do. It's like, well, I haven't achieved it. I didn't get it, so I'm not going to do it anymore. It breeds all of that disappointing pain. So I would actually ask, this is kind of a twofold answer. I would ask them, um, is there a smaller goal that they can set their sights on for right now? And I would also ask them, what is making them think that they should be better by now? Like, is it because they're comparing themselves to somebody else who's doing the same work and is getting bigger results? Are they comparing themselves to somebody who's doing less work and doesn't need to do as much work? Like, where is that expectation coming from? Did somebody tell him? Well, if you do A, B, and C, again and again, you're going to be able to, whatever the sport is, right? You're going to be able to accomplish this thing. I would definitely, as a coach myself, never make promises like that. I would talk about improvement. I would talk about personal bests. I would talk about stay in your lane and look at what is the next goal that we have on your horizon, the next mini goal. That's a way to build confidence is to do hard things and to get better at the things that were once hard for you. Like you do the hard things and you get better at them slowly over time. That is in a nutshell what grit and resilience and where confidence comes from, right? It's the not giving up. It's the sticking with it, but sticking with it with a purpose. and sticking with a plan. It's not just sticking with it for the sake of sticking with it. Like I'm going to keep doing the same thing again and again and not see a result. And I'm just somebody who is just going to keep doing it because I don't quit. Like I don't always buy that stuff. Like quitting sometimes is a good thing to do if a situation is toxic. The other thing I was going to say about sports in this case is if your son in this case has reached a certain level of proficiency and like isn't just starting out in this sport, and I should ask you that, are they just starting out in this sport? If he has reached a certain level of proficiency, there's something called a plateau. And there's a plateau in learning in anything that we do. And the better you get, the harder it is to notice your improvement. So initially, your learning curve can be like really steep, and you're going to see progress also very quickly if you're putting in the time, right? That's why, like, kids when they're younger, like you see them, learning things really quickly usually, or, it's why as adults it's harder for us to learn things. When everything is new and you're at the beginning phases of something, there's so much to be learned, you can quickly mark your progress. But you plateau when you hit a certain level of competence. And getting to that next level of competence can often be very hard and very slow. Like, my kids are runners, and shaving off time, like big chunks of time when they first started training with a club team, it was like time was just flying off, flying off, flying off. And they were getting faster and faster, almost like by the week, they were getting significantly faster. And then we got down to like, we got to a point where they weren't increasing those speeds. It was like a 2 second differential instead of like a 10-second differential. 10 seconds is huge in running, by the way. Even a second is huge. But when you get to that certain level of competence, right? It's kind of like, if you need analogies, like dieting. The first, if you have a lot of weight to lose, those first pounds come flying off, right? All you got to do is, stop doing one thing that you were doing. But once you get down to like the final 20 or the final 10 or, final 5 or whatever it is, those final pounds, those come off much more slowly. Same idea. I really hope this video was helpful to you. Feel free to share it and use the comments to ask a question or to request a topic for the future. We've got links below for free support with things like discipline, teaching your kids how to be more gritty, and how to be more patient with your kids, plus access to my free coaching group. So be sure to check those links out. And remember, we get one shot at parenthood. Our kids only get one shot at their childhood. So let's make it count. Click like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.